Hi there, I'm Professor Blackmore, and I want to welcome you to ProfessorBlackmore.com, where our goal is to empower results through real productivity. And before I go any further, if you haven't been here before, I want to ask that you please subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell so you won't miss any of my tips. And please also follow me on TikTok and Instagram. Now, I'm coming back to you today to talk about something that, you're going to be like, okay, what? But I want to talk to you today about something new, something that you might not expect me to be talking about, and that is concealed carry weapons permits in Los Angeles County, California. I'm going to jump right in, and the first thing I want to tell you is that there are three components of the criminal justice system in the United States. One, the police; two, your courts; and three, corrections. And within the leg of that stool called corrections, we have community corrections and institutional corrections. But before we can talk about each one of these three, we have to be mindful that socioeconomic factors have an effect on each one of these components, but it operates as a three-legged stool. So if you take one away, it will render the entire system inoperable. So let's talk first a little bit about police, okay? Notwithstanding the effects of socioeconomic factors, society's main institutional response to crime comes from this very criminal justice system. And within this framework, the component of the police is the main point of contact between the criminal justice system and the rest of society. Now, when we think about the role of courts, we have to remember that it includes judges, prosecutors, or district attorneys, or the attorney that acts on behalf of the government and its citizens, and the defendant's attorney. Now, notwithstanding again the effects of socioeconomic factors, one of the procedures that make the court work efficiently while maintaining public safety is bail. Public safety is a paramount concern of the bail system. The whole point of bail is to provide for space in jails for those who really need to be there and to provide efficiency. If there's no amount of money tied to bail and you just allow every criminal to be released with zero bail, the courts will be in a never-ending cycle of doing nothing else but having bail hearings, because believe you me, the same people will be coming back week after week, and the court will never have the time to actually have a trial for the cases that are already on the docket. Now, you have this type of never-ending scenario, it will lead to overrunning of the police and the courts. Now, when we think about the third leg of this stool, corrections, the corrections component of the three-legged stool, we're talking about the very consequences for criminal acts that deter criminality after a person has been adjudicated guilty of a particular crime. And within the category of corrections, of the corrections component of our criminal justice system, we have two types of corrections. We have your community corrections, which includes your parole and probation, and we have your institutional corrections, which most people are more familiar with being called your prison or your prison systems. So over time, because of the seemingly negative socioeconomic effects, societies have gone back and forth between the different institutional corrections models, such as rehabilitation, deterrence, retribution, etc. And so if you let individuals know that there are little to no consequences for criminal behavior, crime will increase because people are aware that they can get away with carrying out those particular criminal acts. And so you can see when you remove one leg of the stool, like police, in response to a defund the police movement or abolishing qualified immunity within the so-called criminal justice reform movement, it will collapse the entire system. And we can also see what happens when you try to maneuver the leg of the stool represented by the courts by abolishing the bail system. You create a system that results in an overrun on the police and the courts component. And even further, we can also see what happens when, in response to this prison reform movement within the so-called criminal justice reform movement, when you remove that one leg of the stool, the leg corrections, you diminish the very consequences of crime, you can see absolutely it will completely demolish the criminal justice system because the three-legged stool requires all three legs to operate properly. It cannot operate with one of those legs or two of those legs. You need all three. Now, when you think about it, we're experiencing a time when we have one or more legs of this stool being removed. And as a result of this dismantling of the criminal justice system, people need to protect themselves, leading to a rise in gun purchases. Now, in states like Texas, where concealed carry is allowed by mere operation of law, citizens may carry their guns concealed on their person for use in the event of threat of life. However, in states like California, it's unlawful to conceal carry a gun without a permit issued by the county sheriff. And until recently, the threshold for approval included specified prerequisites to prove need-based reasons for approval of such a request. But recently, as a result of this unprecedented rise in crime due to the dismantling of one or more legs of this stool of our criminal justice system and the reduction of law enforcement resources to answer calls, the Los Angeles County Sheriff lowered the need-based reasons for approval. In part 2 of this course, we're going to look at the qualifications, the required documents, and the fees required for a concealed carry weapon permit. Now, let's start with the qualifications. So, in response to the sheriff's new effort to provide more staffing in his office to support the review of these applications, he has also provided information on their website located at lasd.org/ccw. I will provide the link for this website down in the description area of this video. But what you want to know is that you can go here and you can get all of this information that I'm providing for you right now. But I am giving this to you in a specific order because there are some things that people don't realize, and that is the utter difference in time period in being able to obtain a weapon in the state of California versus other states like Texas. Now, I'm going to go step by step in the way that I think that you should go about doing this application. This is something that you would like to do. And so first, I want to bring your attention to the qualifications, the required documents, and the fees. As you can see, these items are not in this particular order here when you go to the website. And so you can be confused thinking that you can do certain things in a certain order when it really is a specific order that these things have to take place. Okay, so now first, let's look at these few items. So for your qualifications, you need to be of good moral character. You have to provide good cause. There is a minimum age of 21 years. You must own a registered firearm. I'm going to come back to that. And you must reside in California. Now, how is this information going to be assessed? It's assessed by a DOJ background check. And we'll talk about the actual application later, but included in the application packet is a live scan application. You will do this step after you've been contacted by the Sheriff's Department instructing you to do so. But I want to let you know these things up front, because if you don't feel that you will be able to pass this background check, then you don't want to waste time going through this particular process. But you'll need to go to an agency that provides this service, which includes fingerprinting, which will all be submitted to the DOJ from that agency that you go to, that vendor. They will submit the information to the DOJ to complete the background check. And the results will then be delivered electronically to the Sheriff's Department. Now, let's look at the required documents. And so in addition to your application and the live scan application, you will need the following documents. And it's important that you look before you start this process to see if you have these documents, because if you're scheduled for an interview and you do not have those documents available, it will result in a canceled interview and you'll need to reschedule that interview, which could cause a lot of time and money. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have your valid California driver's license or California identification card, an original birth certificate or naturalization certificate, or valid U.S. passport. You're going to need proof of Los Angeles County residency, like a utility bill. And if you don't have a utility bill, apparently you can advise your investigator when you're contacted to discuss additional documents that may be accepted as proof of residency. And then if you have any military experience, then you would need to provide your DD-214 certifying that you had, I'm assuming what they're looking for is an honorable discharge. And so any other documents supporting good cause, if applicable, like police reports or restraining orders, etc., should also be provided. So with all of this in mind, you want to also be aware of the fees associated with the CCW application process. Now, the CCW application fee is payable to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department in the amount of $30. So you're going to need some type of certified funds, a money order, or some type of certified check. Then for the live scan application, when you are instructed to do so, that fee will be payable to the vendor, and it can be somewhere around approximately $150. And apparently it is good for 2 years. Now, once approved, the initial license fee, the CCW license, which will be payable to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, is $120. That's also for a 2-year period. And apparently you have to renew your application every 2 years. And so when you renew that, at that time, there will be an additional fee that you have to pay for that particular application and license, the renewal license as well. Now, you want to think about any cost for purchasing and or registering a gun in California, and that amount is going to be payable to the gun dealer. And that's going to be anywhere starting from around $350 and up. But then keep in mind, and I'll talk about this a little bit more with you later, but the FSC, there is a FSC, a firearms safety certificate fee, and that is also payable to the gun dealer in the amount of $25. Then you're going to have to think about cost of CCW firearms training, which will be payable to whatever vendor is providing that training to you. I'm assuming that will be anywhere from at least $75 and up. So these are all of the fees you want to think about having to complete this entire process. And so these are things that you want to think about before you endeavor to even start or initiate the CCW application process. Now, in part 3, we're going to dive into the actual CCW application. But first, I'm going to go straight away to page 5 of the application because this can be a little confusing. I mean, you can see that you need to have a registered firearm. Some people may not understand the order of that, but that means that before you even submit the application, you will need to be able to provide the nomenclature, the serial number, and all of that for a gun that you have that is already registered in the state of California that has to be listed on your application. So let's go over and take a look at that. Okay, so we're going to go back over to the main website. Okay, so and then here you will see these 3 boxes here. This is the application. So when you click on this, it will bring up the application that is needed. Then you want to download this application and then you want to complete it on your own computer. Now, when you get to this application, you will see here on page 5 of the application, you will need to list the weapon that you will want to use as your concealed carry weapon. Now, there are some limitations on this weapon. So, some things you want to be mindful of when you're thinking about this idea of a concealed carry weapon are that you want to make sure the critical piece is that the gun must be registered in the state of California. Some people may think that they can just use a gun that they have purchased in another state that has not yet been registered in California, but that particular weapon will need to be registered in California. So there's a particular procedure for you to follow with the gun dealer to register your gun in the state of California. So now this brings me to part 3 of the course, the purchase or registering of a gun, new or old, in the state of California. Now for me, I wanted something very small that I can put in my fanny pack. And I already have a Glock 9mm that I purchased new in Texas maybe 15 years ago or so. And believe it or not, it's very embarrassing for me to say, but don't judge me. It is very hard for me to cock that gun back. Now, say what you want. I have little weak fingers or whatever. I really just can't understand it. But I need something that I can maneuver in an emergency. So I wanted to buy something used that has already been broken in. And for me, that would be something that is small, compact, and easy to handle. So I want to introduce you to Fanny. This is my Fanny. This is going to be my fanny pack concealed carry weapon here. And so as you can see, it is very small and compact. And what I really like about it is it has the ability for me to load a bullet right in the chamber right here. So I don't have to get into that whole hysteria of cocking the gun back, because as soon as I fire the weapon with the cartridge that is already in the chamber, then the other from the magazine will load. And here is the little magazine. And if need be, I can just pop it out and handle business. Now, one thing that you need to be mindful of is, in addition to the already foolish waiting period, there's an additional waiting period when you purchase a used gun in California. So you just want to make sure you keep that in mind. I definitely needed to have a used gun, something that has been broken in. That is something that was one of my points of importance on my list. Okay. Maybe for you, you may want to purchase a new gun. It's still not that much better. The state of California wants to make it as difficult as possible for people to purchase a weapon. So we're going to talk right now about used. So after you purchase the gun, you have to wait before you can register it. So you purchase the gun, you go back to the gun dealer and you have to register the gun. And you have to wait an additional 10 days after that before you can actually complete the transaction with the gun dealer and carry the weapon home. Now, there's one more thing you want to be mindful of, and that is that you cannot complete this step, this second portion of the step, unless and until you have a FSC, or what we call a firearm safety certificate. And so I'm going to talk to you about the FSC test. I want to let you know that when you go back, if you're purchasing that used gun, you go back to register it, you can take the FSC then, so that when you come back after the additional 10 days to complete the transaction, then you'll already have the test out of the way. Now, we're going to move on so that we can look at the FSC test. Now, this is what a firearm safety certificate looks like once it's issued, and it remains valid for 5 years. Once you get it, you can laminate it and just carry it in your wallet, just like your Texas driver's license. And so after 5 years, if you go back to a gun dealer to try to purchase a gun, you'll have to take the test again, pay another $25 to be reissued another license. Now, in order to obtain an FSC, you must take the FSC test, which will be administered in most cases by the gun dealer, who must be a DOJ certified instructor. And you'll find this person, usually every gun dealer will have a person or everybody there who is certified to provide you or to administer this test to you. And you can readily find information online that can prepare you for the test. Now, I got 100 on my test. I mean, everybody in the gun shop that day they were just stunned and shocked. But anyway, I'll put the links below that can provide you information on the resources that I use, and you can see how you will do on that particular test. It's very easy. I took at least 5 different practice tests. The test itself has 30 questions on it, and you must answer 23 of those questions correctly. So, you know, most gun shops have their own rules about how many times you can take it there. I believe at the gun shop where I went, I saw a guy there that day I'm just gonna say, I heard them say that he could come back and take it again, that you could take it 2 times for the $25. So he could come back and take it again with the same $25. If he didn't get it, he could go home and study and come back, on another day or however. But you have to get 23 correct on the test. Now, this is one of the test sites that I use, and I'll put this link here down below in the description area of this video. But I just did some of their sample quizzes. See, they have all different kinds. They have at least 9 different quizzes here. And so I took a few quizzes from here, and so that I could have a variety of questions, I took a few from another source as well. And so I can provide all of this information to you. And I just went through and I recorded, the correct answer so I could come back and study up on the questions so that I could do a good job on my test. Okay, so now this brings us to part 4 of this course, completing the remaining portions of the application. Yeah, guess what? We're just getting started with the actual application. As you can see, this is a very time-consuming process, and obviously it's made that way by California to make it tough for people to purchase a weapon, and even tougher for them to obtain a concealed carry permit. So right off the bat, there are some things that you need to not be confused about, because it can be very confusing. And I have this highlighted here so that you can clearly understand it, because on the application itself, let me go over to the application. Now, they give you instructions here as well, but I have it in highlight. When you first go to complete this application, it will tell you not to complete certain portions of it. It'll say here, like, complete, read, and sign sections 1 through 5. Sections 6, 7, and 8 must be completed in the presence of an official of the licensing agency. Well, that is different for each licensing agency. For the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, you will need to complete these sections as well. As it states here, the applicant will thoroughly complete sections 1 through 8, including section 7. And you can find this on that front page. Let me show you where you can find this. You can find this over here, application process. So that is where I'm getting this information from, right here. Okay. And so I have highlighted this here for you. So they're asking that you complete all 1 through 8, not just 1 through 5, including section 7, and sign pages 3, 8, and 11. If you don't do this, the application will not be complete to be considered by the agency. Okay, so the DOJ application instructs the applicant to only complete section 7 when directed to do so, but the CCW unit requires section 7 to be complete in order for them to even contact you. Okay, so this is very critical. You want to make sure that you complete those sections as specified. You want to make sure that you list the weapon that has been registered in the state of California. It has to be a weapon that there is a list that talks about the types of weapons that can be registered as concealed. It has to be concealable, so you can't register an AR. Okay, that would not be one of the weapons that can be listed. Now, the completed application can be submitted to your local sheriff station or mailed to the Hall of Justice, CCW Coordinator, 211 West Temple Street, 8th floor, Los Angeles, California, 90012. You want to make sure that you include a non-refundable check or money order made payable to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and it should also be included with your application. Now, once the application is received, you will be contacted to schedule your interview. Prior to submitting an application, you need to make sure that all of the qualifications have been met in order to avoid any delay. Then you'll need to wait. It's my understanding that there is a considerable backlog. So you'll have to wait to be contacted by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department to complete the live scan application background check procedure and to schedule your interview thereafter. Now, if all goes well, you'll be contacted by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department to conduct the required CCW training. Okay, so you have to conduct this training with a certified vendor. And after that, you will be contacted by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department for instructions on how to pay the initial permit fee so that you can receive your permit. Now, when we talk about the CCW firearms training, this is going to be somebody that needs to be certified by the DOJ, I'm assuming. So it will be a certified instructor. It just can't be anyone. And there is a list of certified instructors on the CCW website for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Now, if you've enjoyed these tips, I ask that you give me a big thumbs up and please subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell so you won't miss any of my tips. And please also don't forget to follow me on TikTok and Instagram.